There is a speaker on Amazon right now designed by the same engineer behind a $4,000 Audiophile Legend. It costs under $500. It sits between gaming headsets and Bluetooth pucks, and nobody scrolling past has any idea what they are looking at. 7 hi-fi speakers hiding in that algorithm, built by engineers whose work costs thousands, ignored because these brands spend nothing on ads. By the end of this, you will know which ones deserve your money. Number 7. The Sony SSCS5. Now, the moment I say Sony, most people picture PlayStation consoles and noise-canceling headphones. Nobody walks into a speaker conversation expecting Sony to be the answer. And that is exactly why this one catches people off guard. For around $170 a pair, sometimes dropping below $100 on sale, you get a 3-way, 3-driver system. That means a dedicated woofer, a tweeter, and a separate super tweeter, each handling its own slice of the frequency range. At this price, virtually every competitor hands you 2 drivers and calls it a day. Sony gave you 3, and that is not a marketing gimmick. It is a genuine engineering advantage. When each driver is only responsible for a narrower band of frequencies, it works more comfortably, with less distortion and less strain. The super tweeter pushes response all the way to 50 kHz, which means this box is high-res audio compatible right out of the packaging. The cabinet is real MDF with a wood veneer finish, not the hollow plastic shell you would expect at this price. Sony did not build this speaker in its consumer electronics division. This came from the same audio engineering philosophy behind gear that costs thousands. Here is the watchdog lesson buried inside this one. When a speaker at $170 gives you a 3-way design and a competitor at $300 gives you a 2-way, the price tag is not telling you which one is better engineered. Learn to count the drivers before you count the dollars. That simple habit will save you real money. If a mega brand like Sony can hide serious hardware in a budget box, the next speaker proves a brand you have never heard of can do something even more audacious. Number 6. The Micca RB42. Pull these out of the shipping box, and the first thing that hits you is the cabinet. Curved, dark walnut panels, clean lines, and a build quality that genuinely looks like it belongs in a completely different price bracket. Reviewers routinely mistake these for speakers costing $300 to $400. They sell for around $150. But the real story is not the outside. It is what Micca buried behind that pretty faceplate. The crossover inside this speaker uses 10 elements built with film capacitors and air core inductors. Those are components you almost never find at this price because they cost real money, and nobody can see them in a product photo. Most budget brands cheap out on the crossover first because it is invisible. Micca did the opposite. The 4-inch long-throw woofer sits on a heavy steel frame with an oversized magnet, and the bass coming out of this tiny cabinet is almost comically disproportionate to its size. Pair it with the silk dome tweeter, and you get a warm, smooth sound that flatters nearly everything you feed it. One honest warning, though. The sensitivity is low at 83 decibels, so this speaker needs a decent amplifier to truly wake up. It is not a plug-and-play situation. And that is the watchdog lesson. The crossover is the brain of every speaker, and it is the single part most budget brands gut first. If a company spends its money where nobody will photograph it, they are building for your ears, not for the listing page. A tiny company punching above its weight is impressive. But the next brand has been punching above its weight since 1932, and most people outside the audiophile world still have no idea it exists. Number 5. The Wharfedale Diamond 12.1. The Diamond line launched in 1982 and has been the gateway drug for generations of serious listeners ever since. This latest version is a clean sheet redesign, and the name behind it is where things get genuinely interesting. These were designed by Karl-Heinz Fink, the same German engineer responsible for the Q Acoustics Concept 500, a speaker that sells for over $4,000. Same brain, same ears, same obsessive approach to getting a cabinet and a crossover to behave. The difference is the number on the price tag. Fink built the Diamond 12.1 with panels made from bonded layers of varying thickness MDF, specifically tuned to kill cabinet resonance. That is not a marketing line on the back of a box. That is a real engineering decision that directly shapes what you hear when the music gets demanding. The sound signature is warm and fluid through the mid-range, with a slightly rolled-off treble that refuses to turn harsh no matter how loud you push it. It is effortlessly musical in a way that makes you forget you are listening to a budget speaker. What Hi-Fi gave it their award multiple years running, it sells for around $400 to $500 on Amazon. And here is the watchdog lesson. The engineer who designs a speaker matters infinitely more than the brand that prints its name on the grill. Fink's fingerprints are on some of the most acclaimed speakers in the world, and yet his work sits right here on Amazon, quietly outperforming competitors that spend more on product photography than on crossover components. Judge the designer, not the logo. Wharfedale proves that pedigree does not have to mean premium pricing. But the next speaker takes that idea even further because it comes from a country with one of the deepest audiophile traditions in Europe, and almost nobody in America knows its name. Number 4. The Triangle Borea BR02. Triangle has been building speakers in France since 1980. In European hi-fi circles, mentioning the name earns you a knowing nod. In the American market, it draws a blank stare. And that invisibility is precisely what makes this speaker such a gold mine. Inside this compact box sits Triangle's proprietary EFS Silk Dome tweeter, a design the company refined across decades of higher-end models costing several $1,000s before trickling it down into this entry-level product. That is not a fresh experiment. That is a mature technology with thousands of hours of development already baked in. The woofer uses a natural cellulose paper membrane, and the cabinet features gently curved side panels that reduce internal standing waves. The rear-firing bass reflex port is tuned for tight, controlled low end without the chuffing noise that plagues cheaper ported designs. At 89 decibels of sensitivity and 8 ohms of impedance, this speaker is unusually easy to drive. Pair it with a modest integrated amplifier, and it sings. Vocals feel immediate and present. Instruments carry real texture. The whole presentation leans slightly forward, like the band just took one step closer to you. It sells for around $350 on Amazon. And here is the watchdog lesson that this one teaches better than any other speaker on this list. Technology does not get invented fresh every product cycle. It trickles down. The tweeter in this box, priced at $350, is a direct descendant of designs built for products costing thousands. That trickle-down is exactly where the gold mines live. Triangle proved that European heritage does not have to carry a European price. But the next speaker rewrites the rulebook on what a tower speaker is even allowed to cost. Number 3. The Dayton Audio MK442T. Dayton Audio did not start as a speaker brand. It started as a parts supplier for the DIY community, the people who design their own cabinets, solder their own crossovers, and measure the results with calibration microphones in their living rooms. These are arguably the most demanding customers in all of audio because they know exactly what every component costs and exactly how much performance each dollar should deliver. So when Dayton decided to build a finished product, it built one for an audience that cannot be fooled. The MK442T is a transmission line tower speaker. That means the cabinet uses a long, carefully folded internal pathway to tune bass response instead of a simple port or sealed box. Transmission line designs are complex, expensive to manufacture, and almost never seen in a finished speaker below $800 to $1,000. Dayton sells these for around $230 a pair. That number is not a typo. The dual 4-inch woofers and 3/4-inch tweeter sit inside a slim, floor-standing cabinet that does not dominate a room, and the bass extension reaches genuinely low for the driver size because the transmission line is doing real acoustic work, not just filling empty space inside the enclosure. And here is the watchdog lesson. Dayton Audio has no advertising budget to speak of, no influencer campaigns, no end cap displays at big box retailers, and that is exactly why it can sell a transmission line tower for the price of a mediocre Bluetooth speaker. Every single dollar you hand over is going into parts and engineering, not into convincing you to buy it. When a company cannot afford to market, it has to be good. And when it comes from a world where the customers literally build their own speakers for fun, it had better be honest. Dayton proved that a DIY pedigree can produce a deadly, serious finished product. But the next speaker comes from a designer whose resume reads like a Hall of Fame, and the speaker he built might be the most awarded budget box of the last decade. Number 2. The ELAC Debut 2.0 B5.2. This speaker was designed by Andrew Jones. If that name means nothing to you, his work history will. Jones came from KEF, then Pioneer, then TAD, which stands for Technical Audio Devices, a company where a single pair of speakers can cost more than a car. He has designed products across the entire price spectrum, and his philosophy has always been almost rebellious for the industry. Great sound should not be reserved for the wealthy. The B5.2 is that philosophy in physical form. Every driver was designed from scratch for this specific cabinet. The 5.2 5-inch aramid fiber woofer uses an oversized magnet. The 1-inch cloth dome tweeter was purpose-built, not pulled from a parts catalog. The internally braced MDF cabinet uses dual flared ports to reduce turbulence noise. Nothing here is off the shelf. The sound is remarkably neutral and balanced, the kind of presentation that does not flatter bad recordings but rewards good ones with startling clarity. What Hi-Fi handed it their award 3 years in a row. It sells for around $200 to $330 depending on where you catch it. And here is the watchdog lesson that makes this speaker almost philosophical. Andrew Jones could charge whatever he wanted. He could attach his name exclusively to products that only a handful of collectors would ever touch. Instead, he deliberately aimed the best engineering he had downward, toward the student, the first-time buyer, the person on a real budget who deserves better than the garbage the algorithm keeps pushing at them. That decision to aim down instead of up is the rarest thing in audio. And it is exactly why these speakers keep winning awards at a price the competition still cannot believe. Jones proved that world-class engineering belongs at every price point. But the top spot goes to a speaker that takes a completely different approach to the same problem. And it might be the single best value proposition sitting on Amazon right now. Number 1, the Polk Audio Reserve R200. Now I know what just happened in your head. You heard Polk and you pictured the speaker on the end cap at Best Buy, the safe mid-tier choice your uncle bought because it was on sale and the box looked convincing. That reputation is exactly why most serious buyers scroll right past this speaker. And that is exactly why it belongs at number 1. What Polk actually did with the Reserve series is something the industry almost never attempts. The R200 uses a pinnacle ring radiator tweeter, the exact same tweeter technology developed for Polk's top-of-the-line Legend series. Not inspired by, not a budget version of, directly taken from a flagship that costs several times more. A ring radiator has no central dome to break up and distort at high frequencies. The result is cleaner, lower distortion treble that extends past 30 kHz with an ease that most speakers at this price cannot touch. The 6.5-inch turbine cone woofer pairs with internal waveguides that widen the sweet spot, so you are not chained to a single chair to hear the speaker at its best. Reviewers with calibrated measurement equipment have called it the most neutral 6.5-inch bookshelf speaker under $1,000. It disappears. You stop hearing the box and start hearing the recording. It sells for around $600 to $700 and regularly drops during Amazon sales events. And here is the watchdog lesson that ties this entire list together. Polk took flagship-grade components, stripped away the luxury cabinet and the prestige markup, and delivered the performance in a plain, honest box. The R200 is the audio equivalent of a Michelin-starred chef opening a sandwich shop. The skill is identical. The ingredients are identical. The price just changed. Every speaker on this list teaches the same lesson. The algorithm rewards advertising budgets, not engineering. The brands screaming loudest on your screen are almost never the ones putting the most into the box you actually receive. The real gold mines are quiet. They sit on page 2 of the search results, built by engineers who spent the money on drivers and crossovers instead of sponsored posts and influencer deals. Learn to look past the listing. Judge the hardware, never the badge. Your ears already know the difference. Your wallet just needs to catch up.